order at 2:05 p.m. Will the interim city clerk please call the roll?
Certainly. Commissioner Hodges?
Here.
Commissioner Oakley?
Here.
Vice Mayor Douther?
Present.
Mayor Black?
Present.
Commissioner Lister is running a little late, and he did say to start without him.
All right, then.
That is permission.
I'd like to entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda.
I make a motion that we approve the agenda as stands.
I'll second that.
Will the interim city clerk please call the roll?
Vice Mayor Douther?
Yes.
Commissioner Oakley?
Yes.
Commissioner Hodges?
Yes.
Mayor Black?
Yes. All right, next we have a presentation from Tracy Farna. Thank you. From the Moat Marine Laboratory. Tracy?
Oh, okay. Okay, face this way. All right. Hi, guys. My name is Dr. Tracy Fanara. I'm the program manager at Moat Marine Laboratory. I am an environmental engineer, I think our only engineer at Moat, but technically I work as a scientist because when you're in research, that's what you're called. So the goals of my program are to investigate how we impact the environment, how the environment impacts us, investigate those impacts, communicate the impacts, and design strategies and methodologies to alleviate those impacts. So I'm able to take the environmental health program and combine science and engineering to come up with sustainable solutions. And I've been using this diagram for a long time, where society, environment, and economics come together for sustainable solutions. But like a year ago, I went to a big conference, and somebody with much more experience than me put this on the board and said, "This is all wrong." And so he made a good point. So it should be like this, because without the environment, society could not exist, and without society, economy cannot exist. And the one thing, the one element that's consistent through all of those is water. It really connects us all and connects economy with society, society with environment. So there are 96.5% of all our water is in our oceans. We depend on our oceans for climate regulation and most of our oxygen, food, transportation, medicine, recreation, tourism. But we're doing a lot to our oceans. We're throwing things on the side of the roads, and if you can see this picture up here, it's the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. We're spilling oil, discharging untreated stormwater, like this is the Lake Okeechobee releases in 2013. And we're just doing a lot to the ocean. And those impacts eventually impact our health. But there are some things that occur, some naturally occurring phenomena from the ocean that end up impacting our health. And one of those things is red tide. I'm sure that everybody's heard of red tide. Yeah, so if you've gone to the beach, right, and I'm very sensitive to it. Everybody's different. It's very subjective. But what makes red tide so special is that these microscopic phytoplankton actually have this toxin called brevetoxin. And when it's released by cell aggravation or death, manatees, dolphins, fish, it can be fatal to all of them. But that toxin can aerosolize, attach onto sea salt particles, move towards the beach, and cause respiratory irritation in healthy individuals. But for those with COPD or asthma, this can be very serious. So to give you a little background of red tide, it was first recorded in the 16th century, and then all throughout the 19th. And then the first official report by Department of Interior wasn't until 1948. And the reason why I'm putting this on here is because it's kind of funny. It was our first publication of citizen science, as it says up there, that people were irritated by the gas and it caused coughing. But also, when they brought it home and boiled it, they were still coughing. So apparently, people took some samples, brought it home, and boiled the water and saw how that affected them. Not recommended. So at Moat Marine Laboratory, we have 5 different programs working together to monitor, to find out more about red tide and its initiation. And because it is a naturally occurring phenomenon, and it is very patchy, you can have effects at one side of the beach and not another side of the beach. And because of that, public outreach is really important. Getting all this information to the public so that we can protect tourism and ensure healthy and happy beach visits. So the Moat Education and Outreach Program is pretty extensive. We work with FWC and the Department of Health and the state to get our data to them and also release it to the public. And one of our most popular methods of releasing this information to the public is the Beach Conditions Reporting System. It's a website, but also a smartphone application that reports, now it's 37 Gulf Coast beaches by trained beach sentinels. So when it was first developed in 2006, this was primarily for red tide. So there was respiratory irritation, dead fish, and water discoloration reported. So when I came to Moat, my first job was to redevelop the BCRS, make it more appealing for the public. So we released a public survey to find out what kind of parameters people would want to see in the BCRS so that we have people going to the site, whether there's a bloom or not, so they're in the habit. And the parameters that the public had suggested are listed now on the BCRS. If you go to one of our beaches, look at our reports. We also, for supporting beaches, which are Sarasota County, Lee County, and Collier County, we have amenities at each beach and a glamour shot at each beach. Whereas other beaches that are also included do not have the amenities, and they do upload daily pictures, but they don't have that glamour shot first. We also have some links so that people can go places to find out more about the health effects, more about red tide, and what they can do to mitigate those effects. We also made it easier for reporters to report, so we have less mistakes in reporting. So they're very simple pictures. So this, actually, let's just go to the next one. These are our current stats. We have almost 240,000 users, and we have users from all over the world. The interesting part is that there are more male users than female, and that would be really interesting to look at. But, you know, that's all great. It's all qualitative information that we're getting. So this information that we're receiving, how do we know that it's right and accurate? Well, what we did was take Siesta Key as our example beach, because we have a state-funded Healthy Beaches program where they take samples of 16 locations throughout Sarasota County and every single week. And I put that on top of our BCRS, respiratory irritation reports. And we had an 83% correlation. So citizen science does work, even when it's qualitative. But we wanted to add a quantitative aspect to this. So we have a NASA-funded cell phone microscope that we're working with NOAA and GCUS. And basically what this does is it allows citizens to take a cell phone microscope out to the beach, take a sample, upload a video of their sample, and that automatically, the algorithm in the app automatically calculates the concentration of red tide cells. That information gets sent to NOAA and gets put into a real-time respiratory irritation model so we can have that real-time effect data and not just depend on the quantitative reports. This is what I'm super excited about, our new citizen science reporting app. It's called Citizen Science Information Collaboration, or also CSIC. So this allows anyone from any beach to report red tide effects like respiratory irritation, dead fish, and water discoloration. But the part that's really exciting is that the next layer through EPA funding is going to be released this month and is going to have environmental impacts inland. So freshwater algae blooms, any kind of spills or odors, wildlife fatalities, anything else that you would really want to know about the environment. And not only does it help other people know where these effects are, but also it helps us as scientists. So the reason why I'm here is because we need more beaches coming to the BCRS. And we have funding through GCOAST, the Gulf of Mexico Coastal Ocean Observing System, to add those beaches for free. And the beaches that we have most requested are throughout Pinellas County, of course. Treasure Island, Madeira Beach, especially Madeira Beach. So that's why I'm here, to see if you guys would like to join the BCRS and become part of our public outreach effort. Any questions?
Are you interested only in the algae bloom type, or I mean, are you talking water quality? Because I think that's where our real issue is here, is water quality.
Right. So the BCRS has a number of different parameters, but it was founded upon, red tide effects. Mm-hmm. So what aspect of water quality are you most concerned about?
I live on the water, and I wouldn't swim in the water behind my house. It's just it's just nasty. The water in Boca Ciega Bay has gotten worse. I've been there almost 16 years, and it's deteriorated.
That's exactly what I developed the citizen science app for, is because actually it was the fact that residents, when the wastewater overflows occurred, it was the residents that noticed it first. Mm-hmm. And so getting that information to us so we can alert authorities. But something like this would be ecosystem changes over time, and that's another thing that we would want to know, the state would want to know, so that they can focus on those waters. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
You said if we want to get on board, what does that mean, or what does that involve, or what do we have to do? And
I need a reporter to report daily. And I don't know if you have any lifeguards. Most of our reporters are lifeguards on the beach, but we do have beach sentinels, like management facilities that also report.
I need to follow up on that, but I was under the impression that the people who do our beach cleanup are checking, are doing the reporting.
For the beach
Madeira.
emissions reporting system?
No, that's,
No.
no, ma'am.
Okay.
We do all the beach reporting out of Public Works. My name is Dave Marsicano. Madam Mayor, if I could.
Sure.
Definitely interested. Any information that we can get out there that's
that would be
good
awesome.
or helpful or otherwise. I'm sure what Walt to my left is thinking is, what's the cost? As far as somebody reporting it, we're on the beach every day. We're one of the towns that is lucky and fortunate enough to be able to have somebody that does our beach cleanup every day. We're extremely involved with the turtle folks and identifying nests, et cetera. This looks neat, but just the details, and probably come back to the commission with what all is involved and
Wonderful.
what it's going to take to get it done, and anything that we can do to help to improve, to have better water quality. I think what you're referring to, Commissioner Oakley, is a overall bigger problem of water quality, which encompasses the entire county. And it flows all, if you look at Pinellas County, it comes all the way down. It goes through Lake Tarpon over here, and then flows out through Bay Pines, and then it comes out right here and through Johns Pass. I believe the county was fortunate enough to have enough money this year to do a dredge project of Lake Tarpon that is going to really clean a lot of the chemicals and stuff and the deterioration that you're speaking of, Commissioner. So that's a positive on that note. But I think if we get the details together, figure out what is expected from us, we can do the reporting out of the Public Works office and come back to the commission with the details.
That'd be great.
It's great.
Sound good?
Reporting takes less than a minute. And as far as, what you guys were talking about, now hearing even more about it, my dissertation was on hydraulic restoration or low impact development retrofit to improve water quality throughout a watershed. So
Well,
if there's anything I can do, like that, stormwater is my thing.
okay, yes, definitely. We need to, I'll give you my information. We're one of the very unique cities in the state of Florida. We've never received any beach renourishment money. We have a beach groin system here. It's one of the first projects the city bonded for in the 50s. And it's presented at any beach and shores conference you go to. You'll see a presentation about Madeira Beach and somebody's talking about the groin system. It works. This last storm, we lost a lot of beach. We lost a lot of beach. Anybody that goes out there will notice there's beach missing. There's parts of the groin system showing now that I've never seen before. But it'll come back. It's really neat. We're working with the U.S. Geology Society right now. We've got a really good relationship with Linda over there in mapping the beaches. So anything that we can add to this, and I'm sure there's a bunch that we could help you all with, and you can help with us too in return.
Awesome. Very
Thanks.
cool.
That sound good?
That sounds great.
Any other
All right.
questions?
Thank
No?
you.
We're good?
Thank you very much. All right, our first topic is changing agenda format. Vice Mayor Douthat.
I just think that right now we have public comment at the beginning of every agenda versus I think it needs to be at the end. Couple reasons right now, people come in, they speak and they leave. If we want to get the residents more involved, I think they need to kind of sit through our meetings, be here and then discuss it. But I still think it needs to be that they talk about only things that weren't on the agenda. So I just, my recommendation is to move it from the beginning to the very end, the last thing we do. So
Seems reasonable.
We can give that a try. Again, like you said, it would only be on subjects that are not listed on the agenda.
correct, same as it is right now,
have been
yeah.
now.
And if,
Okay.
like I said, if it doesn't work, like you said, we try it. If it doesn't work, then we can always move it back. But I think that, you know, maybe it'll keep some of the residents around longer to really see what's going on that we're doing and that the city's doing and everything else. And that's kind of my thoughts behind this.
Yeah, we
I
can
think
give
it's
it a
kind of
try.
interesting.
We can give it a try. I know a lot of people, they come in because they have something to say when they come in, and they don't want to sit through a 3-hour meeting to have something to say at the very end.
I understand
you know.
that also.
So, you know, it's, like I said, we can just give it a try and see how it works and what kind of reaction we
See what
get.
kind of feedback we receive from the
That'd be
people.
fine.
And it's possible to learn something along the way, you know, and might impact what they're going to say at the end.
So just, we want to move that to the BOC to vote on, at the BOC?
Do we have to make a vote on that, or can we just do that?
I
by-
think,
That
I think
doesn't
we
need
just
to
need
be
to change it
voted
in the
by
policy
consent.
Yeah,
handbook.
that doesn't need to be voted on. You can
Okay.
just do a consensus and it can be
Okay.
changed by the
Don't we
clerk.
just need to change it in the policy handbook? Because I
No,
think, isn't that how the meetings are set up in there and how they're run?
Right, but I think we were going to try it out first before we make any changes in the
Yeah,
handbook.
I agree with
Okay.
Nancy, yeah.
Okay.
We'll try it out
That's
before we
fine.
make any changes to the handbook again.
The next topic is goals and objectives for BOC commissioners to set forth for the city. Again, Vice Mayor Douthat.
Yes, I think that, you know, we need to set goals, you know, so the city knows what we're expecting, you know, for each of the departments and stuff like that. But I think it needs to be a two-way street in that we each department or section even, you know, to give us what they see as their goals and objectives. Because if we go in and start setting them without talking to each section or department or whatever, you know, might probably be setting some unrealistic goals or objectives for each of the departments. So I think that they need to do is come to us and say, here's the goals for, and I'll use a real small one, the people who take care of the parking meters, the parking division. Here's our goals for this year. Here's what we want to do. Here's what we need to do to get there, and kind of go with it from that way. And so we can help them, they can help us, and then we can set more realistic goals and objectives for, you know, for the city, for each department, for each section, whichever way you want to look at it, and take it down. Walt gave me a copy of this, and this is from Hillsborough County, correct?
Yes.
And basically, they do the same thing you'll see on here. The first part is, you know, their goals and objective, or not their goals and objectives, their, what's the word I'm looking for, Walt? Their job description, basically, correct? That would be, yeah, like, so in the park and rec, that's their job description. The bottom part would be their goals and objectives for the Parks and Recreation, you know. Over to the right is what they accomplished in 15 and 16, you know. Then as you get into it, you break it down into the dollars and cents, what it cost, what we made, and stuff like that. So I talked to Walt about this. He found this from Hillsborough. I think this is a good, like, format from looking it over, that, you know, we asked each section or each department, you know, what a description of what you feel your job is or your function is in the city, and set some goals for the coming year, you know, and what did you accomplish last year, and just kind of follow this format is what they can. Well, do you want to give some input on this, please?
Yeah, and during the budget process, I kind of alluded to, you know, I did want to make some changes, but, you know, we were very limited in time. In fact, the GFOA, Government Finance Office Association, when you submit your budget, they actually kind of want you to list the goals and objectives for departments to gain certification. So, I mean, it's something that I thought about. I think that it kind of also takes a little bit of element. I mean, not a lot of people like to see the budget and see just numbers. Sometimes if you see verbiage in there and explains what the department's about, you know, what the core goals are, what are they striving for with the dollars that they're getting for that particular year, and what accomplishments that they had with the dollars from the previous year, you know, I think it gives a better picture of what that department is, you know, where that department was, where it is now, and where it's going, and what the council, or what, you know, what the city expects of that particular department going forward. And, you know, and the listing of the accomplishments kind of proves, or gives some proof of some of the things that they are doing right. And so I think that, you know, you can build the budget around some of these goals of what management and council would like to see in those particular departments.
I think it's a great idea.
You know,
But I think you need to also go back to comp plan and look at a lot of these areas and look at what the LOS is for each of those departments, you know, within the various things in the special area plan, the comp plan, and all those other documents that we've done over the years.
Well, and a lot of counties and governmental agencies, when they go to do this, they refer to the comp plan, that we're putting this budget in there and reference the comp plan that is required or noted in the comp plan.
So let me ask you this question. We have department heads who are in charge of all the departments. Now, they already set their goals, I'm assuming, and when it comes time for the budget, don't they come back in and describe in the budget what they're doing at that point? And I don't understand our involvement at this time.
Well, and basically, I mentioned to a couple of commissioners, I didn't want any duplication of effort. I didn't want council going ahead and putting goals and objectives for our departments
I just want to comment on what Commissioner Hodges said, that she made a very good point. The document that you have in front of you is tied to a budget. So I don't, from a legal standard, you know, what Walt is saying is doing something like this when it's with each department being done through city management and the department heads is perfectly fine. This commission asking the departments to set goals and bring them to them is not within the purview of this commission. Right. You're a legislative body. That would be something that needs to come from city management, and that needs to be directed to the department heads. So I'm a little uncomfortable with having a discussion about what the commission wants to see as far as the goals and objectives from each of the departments, because that's not what your job is. But we can certainly have a discussion as to, you know, from Walt's perspective, that this is what he would like to see in the future, and you know, you can go through city management to find out, you know, what input you guys can give to that, but ultimately it's going to be up to city management how that's going to flush out and then come before you in the form of a budget or any type of legislation that they need to have approved in order to effectuate these goals that they've set for themselves. I think that with this discussion, it gets a little bit more into the administrative function of the city, and that's not what this body is and specifically your charter and your code of ordinances does not allow you to do that. So I just want to make sure we can have the discussion, but of course you can't really give any direction. It would just be a discussion that you would have with city management and the department heads as to what, you know, what you may see in the future, but obviously that direction is going to come from management.
Right, but I think because Walt and I did talk about this, the format that he's given here is a format that makes it very easy for anybody else other than an accounting person to understand what's in the budget and what the goal is of that department. And for it to be inside the budget, or, you know, even if this just 3-page document ended up being a part of one department each time went out in our communication quarterly, so that somebody get an understanding of that department and where they're going and what they're doing next month or next quarter,
Right.
do finance and so on down the line. But it just gives a more visual picture of how the budget was put together and where the things
Right.
come from in it.
I don't have a problem with this document. I don't have a problem with this. What I'm saying is that it's not up to the commission to tell the city that this is what
No,
you're
we
going to do.
understand that.
No.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we drew that line, because when you're saying that, you know, when Vice Mayor is saying that we're going to have these goals and the department's going to have these goals, and then what Walt was saying about having the redundancy, he's saying the department should have these goals, and then the commission is saying something different. The commission's not there to be setting goals for the departments. That's an internal city matter through the city management and the department.
I'm only bringing this up because we don't want to go ahead forward and have one set of goals and objectives for departments and then some expectations on something else. You know, so I wanted to have some consistency here and not go against what the council was trying to plan.
Well,
So-
right, and my comment to that is council shouldn't be trying to, you know, the commission shouldn't be trying to plan anything as far as goals and objectives for the individual departments. That's something that is supposed to be done by the city management, and the city management can certainly get feedback from the commissioners as to what they think the goal should be, but ultimately that's going to be an administrative function of this government, not a legislative function of this government.
Well, I would think that somewhere down the line, because we do have budget workshops, that council is giving the city manager direction of
Right.
what to do with those departments.
This would help us on the bench. The way I see it is like when we're doing the budget, okay, the Public Works Department, or Rec Department, here's their job, okay, here's what their goals are for next year. Do we want to fund that? Do we not want to fund that?
Right, I don't have a problem with that, and I don't have a problem with this document. I was just making the comment that there was some comments that were made that this commission can somehow give direction as to what the goals and objectives of those departments should be. That's not something for this body to decide. You can certainly decide whether or not you're going to give a budget line item for those types of things come budget season. And you can certainly choose to approve or disapprove legislation that comes before you in the form of an ordinance and that type of thing. But in no way is this commission is this commission to give administrative function and delegation to the department heads in the city. That's just not the function of the commission per your charter and your code and the way that the government is set
No,
up.
I think,
So, yeah.
I think
Yeah,
we're
I
missing,
just wanted to make sure, because the comments that were coming out, I just want to make sure we clarified
I
that.
think we're missing the point a little bit. It would be management that would put this together, and maybe in budget workshops, the council would have input to say yes or no on some of this stuff. So that's the whole idea about budget workshops.
Well, yes or no on the line items for funding, but they can't sit there and set the goals and objectives for the departments.
They wouldn't do that.
Right.
Management would
Right,
do that.
and like I said, I just wanted to make sure, based on some of the conversation that was going on here, that I made that point of clarification, that there is a delineation that while we can have this discussion, at the end of the day, the commission can't be like, well, I want to see, the Public Works Department have this as their goal. That's,
I think we understand that.
right, okay, I just wanted
That's
to make
clear.
sure. Thank you.
The one nice thing I like is the fact that, this is, the detail, and this sort of makes it understandable. And even more important, it brings the departments together, I would hope. They're coming together and saying, hey, this is what, what we think we're doing, and this is what we're doing, and then they'll be proud of it.
I feel the way that the topic was listed, the way it says goals and objectives for the Board of Commissioners to set forth for the city, that to me is almost like saying, we're going to set the goal, this is what the city's going to do, this is what the departments are going to do, and that's not the way it should be. So even the way it's worded, it's...
By the way, this is just an example that I pulled real quick. It's not something that I would copy. So we would make this type of document. I'm only showing this as a format for the accomplishments, the goals and objectives, the projects, and the layout, more than anything. Some of the verbiage in here doesn't apply to us, and I wouldn't use it.
Well, overall, I think it's a good idea, and we should go forward with it. Anybody else have a comment? Nancy?
Actually, I like it, and what I liked about it is all the departments that you had over here, because I know John has a couple more, everybody's in the same format. So if
Right.
you're looking for something for one department, you know where to go look for it within this document for all departments. It's always going to be in the same place. And they all look the same. I think it's a great document.
I feel like we're going in a big circle here, and I'm just not following the circle very well. So first off, we're talking about the budget. Now we're talking about the goals that the commission's going to set forth for the city. What are we doing? What is the...
I don't think it's for
What are
us
we
to set
doing?
the goals for the different
But see,
departments.
that's what it's read on.
I know, but basically what I'm saying is that they come to us and say, here's our goals, here's the money we need to do, here's what we need to accomplish what we want to accomplish in this
And we're
department.
not doing anything.
So,
Okay, but still,
Then it comes
we've
to
got...
budget.
I understand, but we have department heads. Department heads, they oversee their departments. They know what's going on in those departments. They know what their goals are. And I feel like, those are the ones that come forward and speak if they need something or whatever. I'm just thoroughly confused on this. I just don't understand the concept. I really don't.
The concept, I think, is that the department heads will go to their department, the people who work for them, and say, let's sit down as a group and come up with what our goals and accomplishments are. We know what our budget is, or maybe do it during the budget. It's totally up to them what they put in it. We have no input.
Yeah, that's a key point. It's actually the departments that would submit, the mayor is exactly right. It's actually the departments that would submit this, when we sat down with them, they would submit this to us. This is our needs, this is our goals and objectives. and they would submit that to us. And I guess I'm presenting this because I knew this topic was coming up, and I didn't want us to go the other way. It should be exactly what the mayor said. It should be a bottom-up, where the department gets together, they tell us what their goals and objectives are. Management may change those or adjust them, and that's how we build our budget. But it is a bottom-up process. It's not a top-down.
And when we get this, we have no input. We get it, and we don't say, oh, well, I don't think this should be that. You know, that's what they're saying, and we have to accept it.
Well, how is the budget built at this time? What are we doing that's so different?
I think now, there's not a whole lot of, this provides more planning, you know, obviously more thought. And I think that's what we want to add to the budget process. And I heard this from commission, that we want to make the next year's budget better. And I think this is one of the avenues of improving it, of providing more thought, having the departments more responsible for, again, what are they planning, what are their projects, what are their needs, and that's how you tie the dollars in. Instead of just saying, well, this is what I got last year, I'm going to get the same amount this year. We don't want to do it that way.
I just kind of put this out there for kind of consideration to figure out, you know, how we move forward as the commission. And that's, you know, because I know when we did the budget, we had a lot of issues, you know, with the fire department and the kitchen stuff. You know, I had issues with the pay raises. So we had a lot of different issues in the budget. And I think this, to me at least, this breaks this down more for me, that I can see, okay, the Public Works Department, this is what their job is. You know, here's what they plan on getting done next year. Here's what they did last year. Okay, and here's what it's going to cost us. Here's what it's going to cost the citizens of this city.
It's sort of like putting a face to the budget instead of just numbers.
Yeah, it's not for us to you know, but if the Public Works Department puts in here, well, you know, I want to build an airstrip out here next year, and then we go, no, that's not going to happen. You know, we're not going to fund that. You know, just something just being ridiculous, but, you know, that's kind of what I'm looking for, so I know what we're really funding, and, you know, how. And I brought it up this early, basically, because that gives them time to work on it. I know Walt talked about that he'd be probably starting next year's budget by January. Isn't that what you said, Walt?
Yes.
You know, and that gives the different departments or sections time to work on this. And figure out where they're going to be, where they're going to go, what's going to go on, you know, and to give a more serious look at what they're doing this year, that they can report back to us, here's what we accomplished, you know, so not, you know, so everybody in the city knows what the different departments, what they accomplished this year, you know, and then we can say, okay, here's what it cost to accomplish that, or here's what it's going to cost next year to accomplish what we're asking that we feel that we need to do for the city. And that's kind of what I was looking at in this whole thing. I don't know if does that make any more sense to you, Nancy?
No. No.
For
Okay.
clarification, is it just, you're just asking for, I mean, I apologize, but the topic is, again, what Commissioner Hodges said, and I got a little confused, but are you just looking to say that you guys like this format, and you would just like the city to consider if they would switch to this format?
Yeah, and that's, yeah, and so, you know, the different departments can say, here's what we're doing out there, you know, and then this becomes public to anybody that in the city that says, okay, I want to see what the Public Works Department's doing, okay?
Right, so this is just like a formatting thing that you would like to present to the city manager, and if he in his discretion chooses to do so, they can move forward with this?
Correct.
Okay, yeah, that's perfectly fine.
Any more discussion?
Not right now.
Okay.
I think it's something in a little bit.
Next, we have the RFP for the John's Pass kiosk. Andrea?
Yes, I went to visit John's Pass kiosk this morning, and I just want to share with you my findings. First, the John's Pass kiosk, it's an 8-foot by 10-foot building. It's very small. It's maintained by the City of Madeira Beach. They had a new AC replaced in August. The building, the floor and the walls have been painted. It's actually a very nice, good-looking building, and it's in a really good spot to attract visitors coming in to get some information about about John's Pass and surrounding cities. The phone and internet is being paid for by Sunny Flynn and has been for years. I don't know why it's been set up that way, but she says that she's been paying for the phone and internet. It's currently been occupied by Tampa Bay Chambers, and I believe their agreement has expired in 30th of April. There is an ATM machine on the premises, which is with the bank of First National Bank. I did take the telephone number from that ATM, but haven't had a chance to call them. And there are some newspaper boxes which are kind of neatly stacked where information's left, and newspapers, beach beacons. And that's my findings for John Pass kiosk.
Well, we get Robin up here to.
Robin, Robin,
See why Sonny's paying for the internet. That's kind of strange. Can you pick up the mic, please?
If you can turn it on, an on button.
Just for clarification, Sunny pays for the phone. And I shouldn't say Sunny. We want to clarify. John's Pass Merchants Association pays for the phone. We pay for the internet. Okay. We always have. And that was an arrangement that we made with the Merchants Association because at one time there was a shared situation there, and we developed a partnership with them, and that's how that's worked. So we've put the Merchants Association on the doors along with the Tampa Bay Beaches Chamber, and when the voicemail picks up, we say it's both entities there in case people are looking to leave a message for that association.
Okay. Thank you.
So, is there a bid out there? You're going to put a bid out, or?
I haven't put the bid out yet. It needs to be written, and that's something I'm currently working on.
Okay.
What are we looking for?
I'm not exactly sure. My understanding is that this building, there's interested parties that want to take over this building. I don't know how much the lease would be. I haven't discussed that with anybody. I haven't done an RFP bid yet. So that's my understanding, that the current lease for that building is expired, and that the building wants to be leased out.
Right, so if you go to RFQ out, you got to know, how are they going to man it? How many hours a week are they going to man it?
Exactly.
You know, I guess you could go through the contract that we've already got and pick out all those various things.
Correct.
And then see who comes back with the best plan. I mean, we can look at that.
That's
Yeah,
right.
And I've discussed this with Andrea too, that it's not, we can certainly go through the formal bid process, but there's also a process for a request for negotiation so that you could put it out there, and people could come and negotiate a price instead of just submitting a straight bid. This property likely does not meet the requirements for the necessity of a bid, but we can certainly continue to do a bid. But it may be a little bit more, we might get a little bit more feedback if we did like an offer for an invitation to negotiate, or we just put it out there that this property is available to be leased.
And not make any
Please, yeah,
specific
not make anything
details, let-
specific details of
see
what
what we
it's to
get.
be used for or anything like that, and have other small businesses or whomever is interested come to the city and put forth whatever their invitation to negotiate is for that property.
Because it's a really small piece of property, and somebody
Yeah.
might have a better idea of what they could do
Or
with it. than
perhaps
we
a different
do, you
use
know.
for it, right?
Right.
So that was something that we were discussing, and if that's something that this commission wants to do instead of a strict, because you're not bound by the RFP requirements. You don't have to put, you don't have to get a request for proposal if the lease is not going to be, over $35,000 a year. So if you can get $35,000 a year, let's go ahead and put it out to bid. But that's a very specific, very detailed process. So we can, this is something that maybe it would be, but it's of course up to the commission what you want to do, but it might be something that.
So this notification, request for notification, if we put that out, then any individual that wants to take over the kiosk puts out what they want to do. And
Right.
so there's no specific, this is what the city wants. And we would just get like ideas from 2 or 3 or 4 different entities that want to take over the kiosk itself and
Right.
understand what's going on.
Right, there's still some specifications that you can put in there and some requirements, but basically it's an invitation to negotiate. So you're saying these are the types of things we want in there, or types of businesses, or you come up with your own idea, and then, myriad of people can put in for it. And they can just say, we're willing to negotiate with you on it, instead of this is our bid and this is the final offer type thing. And that way you can kind of pick and choose what comes before the board, what you see, what you might like to see there, request some more information, and then we can go from there.
So it's not an RFP, it's a request
It's
for
an
negotiation?
invitation to negotiate, is what it's called under
I
the
like that.
statute.
I like that because you can get a lot of different ideas and opinions and uses and,
Thinking outside the box?
yeah.
So if that's something the commission would like to do,
And it'll
I can
make your life
certainly work
easier.
with Andre on that. Yeah, so we can work together and craft an invitation to negotiate.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Any more discussion? All right. Next, we have a hurricane damage generator for City Hall. Vice Mayor?
Coming out here after the hurricane and meeting with the chief and with Walt, there has been a lot of damage here at City Hall that I think we need to, file with the insurance companies. These rooms over here were messed up. At the fire station, water blew underneath the doors and all that got messed up in that area. I definitely think we need to make sure we file a claim for that.
Just so council's aware, last Friday, we had, not FEMA, but our own insurance PRM adjuster come to look at the community center room that was damaged by water intrusion, and the gym, which also had water intrusion, and the rec center. And I think there were 2 fences that Dave showed the adjuster as well. Yeah, those are minor. So those have all been reported.
Was there any water damage to the fire station from where it came in through the doors?
Yeah, and I think that problem existed even before the hurricane, but, yeah. But not as significant as the damage over here.
I think we also, the chief was pointing out to me over at the fire station, in certain areas, the sidewalk has dropped over an inch. It probably has nothing to do with the hurricane, but I think we still need to be following that with the insurance company to get them in here to, these buildings aren't that old. For this to be happening is just ludicrous. I just think that we need to get the insurance adjuster in here and figure out, what we can claim and not claim and get these things fixed.
And just, Vice Mayor, that's something that will be determined by the city management. That's not
Right.
something that the commission can give
I
direction
understand
on.
that, and I'm just making a recommendation that they should do that. But the main thing is that I think that we should bring in maybe an engineer or something and look at putting a generator on for City Hall. City Hall was down, buildings here were down for close to a week. I talked to a lot of people that said, they couldn't get in touch with people here. We had no power, if we put a generator in and for the future, and we have power here, then when people call and need information, and a lot of people felt that they couldn't get any information because nobody was working here. The few people that were working out of the fire station, they weren't working here, so the phones weren't really being answered. So people weren't, getting information on where can I get ice, where can I, different things that we should be supplying residents with. So I think that the council needs to be asking for someone, an engineer to come in and say, look at the buildings here and say, here's what you need generator-wise, the size, whatever they need to do, whatever the engineers do, and what the cost would be to do that. So, and God forbid in the future we have another hurricane or anything like that, that the city is capable of continuing to run.
Or a
Commissioner,
thunderstorm.
excuse me.
Remember when it went out just from a thunderstorm?
Yeah.
Yes, and that does happen in Florida. We do get storms.
True.
This building was actually designed for a generator. If you would let staff go back and dig through the plans, I think everything's there. It's going to be a matter of us building it into a capital item for the budget. But I don't think it's necessary for us to hire an engineer. All those things are already there. If that's what you would like staff to do, I will take that direction and move forward and bring it back to the commission.
That works for me. I didn't know we had all that
Yes, sir.
information. But, I just
Yeah,
think
absolutely, we
I think we
do,
need to keep the
and-
city up and running next time something like this happens.
I will take that direction and bring that back to you, sir.
Do you have
Great, thank
any
you.
idea what that would cost? Any ballpark?
No, ma'am, I can't guess those numbers, but I will make sure that I put it all together and bring it back for you.
Great,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you. Any more discussion? No. All right, next we go to the dialogue, and the first item there is the home rule. I have a resolution that I would propose that we sign for home rule.
I can get one.
You didn't get one?
No, that's okay, I can say it.
It's something we've talked about before, and we just never moved forward, and I think it's time to do that.
What's the resolution? I mean,
It just says I support home rule. Bel Air Bluffs, I'm looking at theirs, and this is their resolution 2017-07, and basically the last paragraph says, whereas a bunch of whereases, and the last one is the most precious powers the city of Florida has are its home rule powers, the ability to establish its form of government through the charter and then enact ordinances, codes, plans, resolutions based on the needs and standards of the community without state interference is essential. To further be able to enforce them at home and to make necessary changes as the city grows, it is a great reflection of the trust that the citizens have in their respective leaders. So we can pass that around and make a final decision, but I think we should go forward and have a resolution.
I think it's a good idea. I can see it.
so what do we need to do? Put it on the BOC?
Just put it on the
Okay.
BOC.
Well, yeah, did you want me to go ahead and draft that resolution then? I mean,
Yes.
we represent Bel Air Bluff, so I can get a copy of
Okay.
that.
That would be great.
And we can put it on there, we can put it on the next
BOC.
BOC meeting agenda.
10th of
We should do
October.
this before they revoke it, and we can't do it.
Luckily, there won't be a legislative session before then, so we should be okay.
All right. Okay?
Yep, I'm good.
On your back.
Oh, I'm good with
Thanks.
that.
All right, the next item is the fitness center, and I'm just bringing this up because we've talked about this months and months ago, and it's been,
I think last workshop or the workshop, I requested that they do an audit of all the equipment in there to see
I believe you did.
what is in there, is still in there from what we actually purchased versus when that other company was in there, and to see what's in there, what's working, all that. And I haven't seen anything on that yet.
I think that it was on our list, but, with the hurricane coming and everything, I
Right.
think it just dropped off.
there's been a lot.
It just moved to the bottom.
Well, we just need to
Okay,
make some
can we get it back on the
decision.
list? Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next is the workshop setting. I think this is, again, something we've talked about many times, and we all think, I think it's a consensus, we would love to be able to have this workshop down on the floor, around a table, so it's more friendly and, just more of a workshop instead of a formal meeting.
I agree.
And I think the only thing stopping us is getting being able to record the meeting. So if we can do that, do we have a consensus?
We only need the sound.
The sound, right.
Right, it doesn't have to be televised, but
Right.
we'd get one of those things, I want to get a big round table, and that can't be that much,
Probably
know.
wouldn't hurt.
and then put some in the middle of it and then have a roaming mic. That's all we need.
Well, a roaming mic makes it
For
a
the
little
audience.
different. Oh, for the audience.
Well,
Oh,
we used to do that. I guess we're not doing that anymore. That was a long time ago.
well, we
did
don't
that.
need that now.
Yeah, okay, never mind.
All right, so back to do you have a consensus to go forward with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's fine, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
And the last item on the dais is strategic planning. I spoke with Lynn Tipton from Florida League of Cities, and she has recommended that we get in touch with this lady who is the executive director of the Florida government.
Cotty?
Pardon me?
Mary, Cotty?
No, Marilyn Crotty.
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 Yeah.
Okay. And this would be a very useful source for us to get together and do, not what Walt was talking about with his paper there, but do a short, like a 3-year plan, strategic plan, and bring her in if she would come in and help us with it. So that's,
Like facilitate it?
yes. So at least get that started and see where that goes.
We
What's
just
the
need
cost
to
on
to
that?
find out the cost on that, I
Well, yeah,
guess.
we have to find that out. We could do it on our own, which, well, not necessarily our own, but we could do it with another facilitator. My understanding, if you do it to the Florida League of Cities, it's a lot cheaper because they have certain criteria that would be met. It wouldn't cost as much. But again, I don't know the numbers yet. But I'll be glad to continue looking into that.
This person then would come down from Tallahassee?
I don't know where she comes
Marilyn
from.
Crotty's in this area.
She's in this area?
I think she's in, I think St. Pete. It's either St. Pete or Tampa, but I think it's St. Pete.
I'm good with it.
Okay. Not saying we're going to do it, we just investigate the cost and go forward.
Okay.
All right.
She usually does half-day, either 4-hour or
It was like.
a 4-hour seminar.
Yeah, a half-day seminar. is
That's
what
what she
we-
usually does.
And it would be like, probably a 3 to 6 month, not workshop, but a 3 to 6 month to get it done. Okay. That's it. Any other comments from the commission, staff? Any public comment? Floor is now open. All right, then, meeting is adjourned at 3:03.